Hello?
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can. I'm sorry.
Okay, if we started the meeting, and if you could take the roll.
Councilmember Thorson? Councilmember Peterson?
Here.
Councilmember Wong?
Here.
Councilmember Cole?
Here.
Mayor Furlong?
Here. Quorum is present. Motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Councilmember Thorson. Second by Councilmember Wong. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Jenny, if you take the roll.
Councilmember Thorson? Aye. Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Wong?
Aye.
Councilmember Cole?
Aye.
Mayor Furlong?
Aye. Agenda is adopted. We do have kind of a carryover from our last meeting. And I just want to let you know, Jenny and Candy, sounds like Candy's having a lot of fun down there. Candy, you having a lot of fun down there?
She's muted.
Oh, she's muted. Okay, anyways. I'll turn it over to City Manager Dudek, and we'll start the workshop, the retreat.
Very good. Mayor, Council, thank you. So yeah, again, this is kind of a continuation from our meeting on the 23rd, where we had talked about a whole host of items that all council members had contributed to. So we've got a list associated based on that discussion. And so I think the idea was this evening to go through that list and prioritize those and come up with a list of priority items that we'll work toward. I think there's a lot of items on this list that are
Double.
are things, well, they're doubled up, but things that may already even be in process of
Right.
being worked on. But again, just to continue that discussion and prioritize the list, and we'll work through it.
So in the past, what we did, we'd put it on a board, we'd rate them, and then we'd rate them, the council would kind of rate them. So last night, I kind of text everybody to kind of rate your top 5 things that you feel, are your top 5 highlights for moving forward for the year. So what I'll do, I think I'll ask each council member, what are those top 5, and we can always add, above that, above the 5 or whatever, but at least it'll get us started to prioritize what we feel is important for each council member for the year. So I think I'll ask Candy if you want to start. Candy, if you got your top 5 or 6, whatever you have, if you can relay those to the council. And I'm assuming Jenny's going to be taking notes, and so in the past, we'd be able to see it on a board, everyone's, and, if one's overlapped or not.
Yes, I'm taking notes.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So Candy, are you available? Well, she was talking before and was able to hear us.
Put it on mute.
Just a couple seconds here. Candy, are you available? Why don't we start off with Councilmember Thorson? I don't know if that's working or not.
Nope, I'm getting an audio through there.
Here we go again.
Hello?
All right, I'll try to talk louder. Maybe I'll move over here.
See if that works.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, perfect. Perfect.
Something's going on with that mic.
Councilmember Wong didn't want to sit that close to you.
Yeah, should
She disconnected the mic.
I can go in the other room too. It makes everyone else come. I guess, yeah, I just had the Highway 120 and 36, and There was also an email that went out, I believe every council member got it, that Senator Chuck Uyghur's having a Zoom meeting about that. I'm certainly gonna try to attend that, but it's on a rough day for me, in the middle of the workday, but, I don't know what.
I'll be
And
attending.
I would encourage everyone, if you can,
Yeah.
to try to make that meeting, because that will be one of the topics of that meeting is 120 and 36.
But yeah, they do have an agenda, and it's not just that alone.
Right.
So, and, there's a lot of, it's open to the public too.
Correct.
I don't know, there's not necessarily like a public forum for discussion, but we can post the details for that, but.
Kind of an annual update that Chuck does every year. But, yeah.
So 36 and 120, and then the, street mill and overlay type projects. Those are my top two. I didn't really come up with 5 because it's just kind of, all this stuff you can say is important, but not really sticking it out ahead of the other, so I'll just defer to what the rest of the council thinks.
Okay. Councilmember Wong.
Can I have a clarification question on, is this a priority for us as a whole council?
I would say the way it kind of worked out is prioritize for yourself, and then what happens is we put it all together, and then there's overlaps. Then we can kind of scale it down from there.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure that I understood that correctly. Okay, so the things that are important to me, I think for the city is probably something around, the transportation, improving transportation, so that might, fall into some of that capital planning. But particularly around walkability and bikeability and bus routes as well. And then another area would be body cameras, and then also the mental health piece is a sub-bullet of that. I would say that would be another one. And then the redevelopment downtown with potentially an arts commission or a placemaking opportunity. And then the Parks and Rec plan, moving that forward. And then lastly, probably the open streets plan and parking.
Do you want to, would that be like your number one as part of the transportation?
It
Capital
could,
planning, bike and walk mobility, that's kind of group those all together?
yeah, sure, we could do that.
So your fifth one, what was it again? The open,
It's open streets, but it could easily play into some of the downtown activity as well.
and you're welcome to add another one if you want, or if you feel, I mean, I just said 5, but if you're, if you feel pretty strongly about some things, I would definitely add it.
Sure, with the community garden, I would like to explore that as a potential.
I was thinking the other day is the community garden, if we were to get a restaurant and the restaurant have their own community garden. I know in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, that's huge.
Yeah.
That all these restaurants use the community garden for some of their fresh vegetables and stuff. And I thought that'd be kind of cool if you had a big community garden and you had a restaurant in town that could use that. And food shelves, food shelves up at Guardian Angels also has a community garden that they use for the food shelf, so.
Yeah, that's a very popular model. People are loving it too.
Okay, Councilmember Peterson.
Priorities are keep the pressure on for Highway 36 and 120, which you've already mentioned. 17th Avenue and Delaware. what's becoming of that. I hope we can wrap that up, figure that out. The garage sale, recycling and shredding date. Scott, do we have a date for that yet?
May 8th.
May 8th? Okay, that's Mother's Day weekend, okay. And the plowing and sidewalk policy, I'd like to get a little bit more specific on that. Where we're plowing, I mean, the sidewalk clearing.
Oh, plowing, not
And then the
following.
HR
Plowing?
Well, we have a policy of clearing the sidewalks. Are we gonna add more to it or just keep it the way it is? I was confused at last meeting, what that was about. And the other one I had, the HRA. The ordinance is what, from 1972? Was that a question too? That's all I have.
Did you get that, Scott? The HRA, what was it?
That was related to Ramsey County, HRA that they want.
Oh, got it.
Yep.
Something about an ordinance from 72 or something, 1972?
Yep. Got it.
That's all I have.
Okay. And Councilmember Cole?
I guess if we want to prioritize them on our list, some have already been, have been addressed, and so some of them will be repeats. Park improvement plan would rest as probably number one for me. One for the fact that I've got the oversight for the committee. I also know it's something that council's been asking for 3 or 4 years, is to, clear direction of what we're gonna do. So, that would probably fall number one to me. And underneath that, there's a whole lot of things that fell on the list. Bike rack downtown and tennis courts, and so I just kind of lumped a lot of those individual items that were out there under one bucket to fall under the park improvement plan. Second one to me is get a downtown restaurant tenant. If we've got to make decisions on how to make a downtown site more attractable, I think that's would be imperative. 36 and 120 is definitely critical as far as the way I view the city and the accessibility to it when that comes along. Again, falling kind of under that downtown restaurant theme comes your art council and your downtown landscaping, and we've had a lot of money invested into the downtown community with builders and a lot of new residents coming down. Just making sure that once we get them in here and they move in here, that we keep them here, give them reasons to shop and have a beverage of some type downtown, or find what their needs are. To build on community, fall roundup and holiday lights. I think the holiday lights was phenomenal experience last year. And I would love to get fall roundup back to, I don't know how or why it stopped, other than potential just needing volunteers, but that to me is critical for community, and especially in September, fingers crossed, those who want to be vaccinated will have had their shots. People will be wanting to go out more in public and socialize and do things. So I think that's a big community thing. So, no, I can keep going. City-owned land, 17th and Delaware, along with some of the other, I can't remember how many plots of land that the city owns. What is our long-term and short-term strategy or plan for each one of those? Either holding back on them for future development or converting them to taxable-based income. And the last one that I threw on there, just because I heard a lot about it, and I heard council members prior to when I brought it up, but just code enforcement education, just good, bad, and ugly. I guess those would kind of take care of my list.
Okay, and again, I think, you know, a lot of the things that everyone's talked about, I think you can kind of group them into, you know, a category, events, you know, it's, we want to see events, we want to see, you know, maybe the fall roundup, the spring Easter egg hunt, I mean, just events that we're doing throughout the year. I think that's important. But mine are the capital improvement plan. I think we really need to prioritize our streets, make sure that we're on track with overlayment, if it's a new project or what, but I want to make sure that that capital improvement plan is being updated almost yearly, especially for the streets, because it seems like some streets deteriorate faster than others. It may look good for 1 year, and the next year, all of a sudden, it's gone. I also had events. I think that's important. Again, grouping all the events together. Like you said, the holiday light-up contest was great. Whether or not we add more events, but also keep the events that we do have going right now. The car show, definitely, you know, making sure that still is a good event for downtown. I also got the redevelopment for downtown, and that is what Scott was talking about earlier, the redesign. You know, we should really look at that. That includes that new building that we bought, you know, with the parking, you know, how is that gonna look, you know, the streetscape. If we're gonna go away from the plan that's already been put together and approved, you know, we wanna make sure that council understands what we're doing and what that's gonna look like and how it's gonna benefit not only, you know, the streetscape down there, but, you know, what's happened during COVID? What have we learned? You know, we've learned that the bars, you know, we might have outside patios. We might be able to learn from COVID and understand that, you know, this could happen again, you know. So we really need to be prepared in regards to maybe helping out the bars in regards to streetscape down there. You know, is it a small patio area outside? You know, it's those portable benches like you tell, or portable tables. And I know at the business association meeting, or at the bar meeting, they talked about bringing picnic tables again. Well, some of them aren't the best looking either. We want to make sure that it looks good. We don't want it to look like it piecemeal down there. You know, I think we have the opportunity now to, if we're investing money down there, to make it look good.
The proposal, Mayor, related to that, at least that piece would be to likely bring you council a plan to look at our upcoming workshop on the 16th, because we'll be updating some of that to bring for you to look at, because we need to finalize it. Before you know it, we're going to be in the construction time and
Right.
ready to go. So I mentioned that a little bit today at the Business Association meeting also, to bring this forward to council, get direction from council, but then also be able to take it to an upcoming Business Association meeting prior to, you know, actually work being done and all that, so that the businesses can see, you know, what council is thinking, and we get input, so we don't run into other situations like we had signal cabinets or things that showed up in front of somebody's business, that they can see firsthand what it's gonna look like, and we don't build it and say, well, why didn't we do this?
And I think that goes to the Arts Council too, because that also, like outside of Roddy's, they got that big computer thing, you
signal
know,
cabinet,
we
yeah.
need to make it look nice, and there's a lot of other areas in the city that we can also do that, and I think an Arts Council would be benefit, having that, you know, to help with that, facilitate that type of artwork down there. I also have a budget committee. I think it's important to have a budget committee sooner than later, having residential input in regards to the budget. It will help the council, and staff if we had, I believe, a budget committee. I think that's a great idea. And also determine whether or not we're going to keep those other committees. If it's the environmental committee, and then the design and review committee. So I think we need to have a budget or a workshop sooner than later to determine if we're still going to have those and create maybe a possible couple new ones. Restaurant downtown, as Councilmember Cole mentioned, yes, I think at the EDA meeting today, we're talking about that also. And, you know, what do we want for the restaurant? What are we looking at? You know, is it, I'm not going to say the one that was mentioned, but there's, could be a gamut of different ones that, you know, that I may think is correct, but, you know, correct fit for the down, but maybe, you know, you guys want to think something else. So I think as a council, we need to determine, you know, what are we looking for down there? What should we be looking for that space down there? And I think we should look at that sooner than later, because I think decisions have to be made pretty quick here. So I think that we should talk about that pretty quick. And then one last thing I have down here is drawing more people to the website. I think from COVID, that's another thing that we've learned, that it helps communicate to the city. It helps with the staffing in regards to all those modules that we're working with now, permits online. I think it's changed the way we've done things down at City Hall. So I think that's important to keep that momentum going and to draw more people to it, because eventually I think that's going to be one of our major tools to get communication out to the public and for people to work online with permits and, you know, all that we have. So those are all the ones I have. Does anybody want to add anything or comment, add to the list? Because I'm sure Jenny's going to
I have
be.
something, Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Councilmember Peterson.
I had emailed Scott earlier. Is there anything about baseball for the kids or pony league, Scott? Do we know anything on? I've been getting a lot of questions, and people are holding out for North St. Paul. They don't really want to go to another community. Have any updates?
We have, I contacted them because we haven't heard anything. They have only had one meeting. There's been no registrations. They don't have any plans in place of yet, but they're going to, they say they're going to try to plan something and do a season. It'll be a abbreviated season. They also said that they will not hold the normal year-end tournament, but they're working on their efforts and trying to put something together, but nothing as of yet.
So I
Thank you.
did have someone come in and,
That was traveling baseball that was in.
so that's Jim Foster,
Right.
NSPAA, and that has nothing to do with youth, it's more.
Well, this is the smaller kids. That's the traveling baseball, and they would just use, they're based out of the Casey, the two fields at Casey.
Yep, okay.
Yep,
So no youth or anything.
right, not yet. But they're going to try to put something together.
Okay. Yeah, because I think,
Normally, registrations are done in February, and they don't have a plan yet.
and again, I think it's still unknown how all these sports teams are going to come out of this, especially for the summer.
Right.
Like you say, it's going to be a hybrid, or it's going to be a shortened season again. Because I don't think Polar Charity is even looking at fund or doing the concessions down there for the summer at all.
Yeah, it sounds like some of them, like we've had some of the adult co-rec leagues that had used it in past years, that they may try to do something, maybe instead of doing a fall league, they would start in July and do kind of an intermediate, start in July but end early in the fall and just have one abbreviated season.
Anybody else want to add?
Well, I think just to clarify on that restaurant issue, I think, a good example would be like if there was a restaurant interested in locating but didn't offer breakfast and maybe a late lunch, kind of, whereas people are wanting or desiring something different that's not already down there. And so I think that's where, to, clarify on, what, when we're discussing, what's desired, to be clear on that, like, is it a full-service type restaurant that offers breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Is it a more of a bar type setting, stuff that we already have, so just to clarify on that, I think is.
And I think,
What we're struggling with,
yep,
it's hard, with everything going on and just the state of restaurants in general.
So I think it's kind of like ideally, what would we like? Ideally, we'd like a breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yep.
And does it have alcohol, you know, does it have a dance at night or whatever? But I think ideally, you know, rate it at that, and then from there, kind of go down the list, because we may not get that ideal restaurant, but we may get something that fits, you know, like a Champs, you know, is that different than a full restaurant or whatever, you know? So I think, yeah, I think that's.
Or if that's what's determined is what's ideal, maybe it takes some incentive to get them there, like was briefly discussed at the EDA meeting, because other cities do it, and if that's something we want to consider. And then just another quick comment about, you know, the, you know, the changes with COVID and how, you know, this outdoor seating now is changing things, I think, for the better. But, you know, in the past, I mean, if you've been to any bar, there's a sign, no drinks beyond this point, and they risk losing their liquor license. Well, now that opens it up to the patio area. And, you know, to my knowledge, we haven't had issues from that, which is great. That's not to say there wouldn't be any down the road, but, you know, we gotta deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But just that whole idea too of community events and, you know, if, like the car show, the whole road is closed off. And, you know, in previous events, I remember growing up, the Lions Club had a beer trailer.
Right.
And people, you know, you buy beer and walk around. Now that was a different time, and maybe, you know, nowadays it's not socially acceptable, there's too many insurance issues or whatever, but, I mean, if the main concern was, you know, we just don't want to do that here, and we're looking at expanding those community events, and, because that brings, you know, a little different dynamic to it, and I think we certainly don't want to have a non-family friendly event, but I think there's plenty of examples where that stuff goes on and it's done safely and responsibly, and it adds and enhances to the event versus, you know, no, absolutely not, you can't do it. And so just to try to maybe look at that and keep an open mind as that is a possibility.
I think a lot of that is insurance driven. So I know Grand Old Days used to be that way. I lived a block off of Grand, grew up a block off of Grand, and when they first started, it was that way. You could walk and drink and, you know, whatever. And I believe insurance had something to do with it, so they had to put in the beer gardens. Then they had to block it off where you couldn't do that anymore. So I think our industry has changed just from the liquor store, the bars and everything. Back in the days, yeah, you could get away with that. And there's cities, you know, like Vegas, and, you know, there's cities that do it. But I think there is some sort of insurance and control over it now. But that's something, yeah, we could definitely look into.
To build on Councilmember Thorson's comments around restaurants, when the developers put the plans together for the apartments downtown, do we know what they thought what the demographic of the resident was gonna look like, young, old? I mean, because to me, that would have a big play too in what we would put downtown for a restaurant as well.
It's a complete mixed bag. I mean, there's been everything from, you know, seniors potentially in the building, but also the young person starting out, young family, whatever it might be. People that are more interested in that downtown atmosphere, more of the you know, entertainment or action type center per se. I mean, it's been same thing with the M&I townhomes. I mean, same thing they've seen up there as a complete mix through all spectrums of buyers up there. So it's been wide.
And I think the rent, you know, will determine it too. It sounds like it's gonna be a little higher rent, and is that a different class of people? I have no idea. You know, it could be. So, yeah, should we get the Lexington to come in? I don't think that's gonna happen.
Need a rooftop bar.
Yeah, rooftop, that'd be perfect.
There'll be one there on the building.
There is a rooftop. Councilmember Cole, or Juan?
You know,
I'm sorry.
Tim and I really, you
I
know,
don't know why.
resemble one another.
Don't look at all right. So sorry.
That's fine. No, I think, along the same, vein of restaurants, I think that incentive piece is really probably crucial, especially since the buildings are here, the apartments are here, people are gonna go in there pretty quickly, so having a really fine incentive may get that ball rolling, so residents, when they are here, they can really enjoy it, so. But yeah, incentives.
Councilmember Peters?
Dozing off.
How you doing out there?
It's like she's
Okay.
having a ball, she's at the beach.
Well, good. I think it's good discussion. Prioritize, and these are things, city manager, I know that on that list, there's a lot of things that are already things that we're doing or are going to be done.
Yep. Well, I enjoy the list. I mean, I enjoy the items that you put on it, that look forward to it. I mean, the priority is good, but yeah, there's a lot of items that are on the list that are in the works or will be, just like the comments about fall roundup. I think that's, I can tell you that today we had a business association meeting and the business association itself will take the lead role in that as far as the downtown parade. And the city will partner with them to do as much promotion and help as we can. And I think everybody, the community overall, is looking forward to getting back to some of those things. And from the city standpoint, myself, I'm proud to be able to showcase what we've been doing and are doing in the downtown. So all of those kinds of efforts to definitely really put effort into and our website and those applications. Our followings and with the work that Carrie's been doing has just been exploding and continuing to do that with other programs and modules coming on and refining those. And so it's just exciting times. And so look forward to this list.
Scott, when it was addressed about fall roundup and the, parade on Thursday night, I think we've talked that the car show is going to extend a little bit further, so they would be there that Friday night. And, not that many years ago, the bars would have, a tent in the back or a band in the back. I mean, were those types of conversations brought up as well, or did it just kind of stop at?
Yeah, right now it's really getting a committee together to get going on the parade planning right now, but not only the parade, that car show, the car show people are obviously going to be intimately involved with this, but then to talk about, we mentioned about Saturday. Do we, even though the car show ends on Friday, we have the parade on Thursday, is there something as a recap celebration that goes on Saturday for the year end and celebration of our downtown and involvement with all those different groups and organizations?
And I think there's, Scott, on this list here that we're giving you, there'll be workshop items.
Absolutely,
I think those are things that,
Yep.
we can get on the schedule
Yep.
soon.
And one of the items is street maintenance. That's going to be one that's going to come up very soon. It may even be some topic of discussion upcoming on the 16th. If it's not there, it will be definitely the meeting after that because we want to get the priorities of the areas from the council on that so we can get bids out for those different projects. We talked about, for example, Ariel Street. That's a prime area of looking at it as a maintenance overlay. That's something that doesn't need a full reconstruct, but that's a prime candidate for a mill and overlay maintenance of a street like that. The downtown parking lot down here on the south side of 7th Avenue, large lot, which is going to receive much use as all these items start coming online. And then with the building that we purchased and the access to that, all that are going to be high priorities, at least in my mind, and to get the council's direction. But things like that, so we can be prepared for it and get bids out and ready to move forward.
Good. Any other topics?
One quick clarification item, and especially now that we have 2 new council members on that live right near this that I'm going to ask about. I'm just curious what your guys' opinions are on that. The Casey Lake electronic sign, I brought it up in the past that it seems like some of the graphics that we use and then how quickly the messages rotate is a little distracting, or just, you know, maybe we can look at, I mean, extending that stay period and then at some point stopping the rotating messages like at night when there's not a lot of traffic and just displaying like the date and the time and the temperature type of thing, and then it turns on again. But what are your guys' experience and thoughts about the neighborhood and how they have dealt with that?
Councilmember Cole.
I just remember when it went in and there was this big giant glow over the park in the middle of the night. I don't know when, were you in place when the sign was put up? Well, okay, so, I mean, it would have had to have lit up your front yard, I mean, as it went that direction.
Yeah, initially it didn't have the dimming,
Yeah.
wasn't set on it. It was a bright all the time, and it wasn't tied to the timing of the day. And so then when that was activated, so at night it dims down, and then during the day it brightens up, but.
I'm fine with turning off the scrolling messages after us, you know, park closes at 10 or 9:30. You know, turn it off and it goes to, you know, whatever, I'm fine with that. The flag. I guess I drive by it every day. I don't see it as necessarily a distraction. And I guess the timing or the cadence of how it goes through, I'm able to get one or two blips as I round the corner down my street. I guess I haven't given it a whole lot of thought, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, well,
Long way of answering a short question.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really bother me. I enjoy it when I go to the park and then I can see zoning. I do think maybe there can be some look into how often it should change. Maybe if there are safety reasons around that or something, but it doesn't, I think it's great. And
Well, and I'm not advocating we stop using it. I'm just, from my observations, when I do drive down that road, it's hard to, you know, you can only see it from so far away, and at that point it's kind of changing, and then as it changes, you're too far to see, and then if you're looking in the mirror, so I thought, well, you know, maybe people who are trying to read it may get distracted and just walking the paths, trying to read the messages. It just seems like they were scrolling a little fast, and at one point, we would flash the Twitter, you know, follow us on Twitter, and we hadn't updated our Twitter page for about 3 months, so I just kind of was thinking, well, who is monitoring this and how effective is it? So, I mean, you know, again, I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just saying, how often are we evaluating that and getting feedback from residents in the area? Is that?
And I think having that new communications person too has
Yep.
changed the way things
Oh, yeah,
go on
dramatically
down there.
changed the use of the sign. But we can look at, I mean, if there's input that it's scrolling too fast, that's a easy setting. It's a seconds in there and how long you want to set seconds for the sign to stay. So we can certainly slow it down a few seconds and do things like that. But yeah, I know Carrie's been in managing that along with activity on the website and trying to keep it fresh and pertaining to what's going on.
Which again was a huge priority, you know, working up
Yep.
to that. And I think having Kerry on board has really changed the way things are going.
Because my observation last time, just 2 days ago when I drove by, the snowman logo came up, but it was cut off, right? So like the top of the head, and then it switched quickly to the, you know, Mask Up Minnesota, which was also kind of distorted, and then at that time, so I was just kind of curious, like, I mean, like, what's the process there when, you know, I'm assuming it can be changed by a computer?
Is it on, can they change it here?
Yes. That's part of the problem is that you change it on the computer here, and what displays on your computer screen here, to your point about the snowman's head being chopped off on the top of that, is different than what actually sometimes, it's not completely screen to screen. So it would almost be either need to do it and go down and take a look at it, or it'd be nice if there was a camera view down there that you could see
Well, so it-
but with the digital, you can't see that.
So at the liquor store, we had a maximum pitch, I mean, it told me exactly what size picture I could
Yep.
fit up there.
Yep.
And, you know, if you're clipping it from the internet or whatever, you
Right.
have to make sure that that size fits that.
Right. We could follow up on that, because I do know that that's happened a few times where it got out of the sync.
That's just my concern, that we're utilizing that to its fullest potential, and that, you know, we're not just throwing things on there just to do it, you know. Why are we doing it? And then there's follow-up that, okay, we put this in, let's someone go down there and check it out and make sure it's working. Is it cycling through a couple of seconds? Yeah.
I think we're,
I mean, you're on the other side of, you know, you're right.
Yeah, and I don't see it every day. I don't drive down there all the time, and you know, but when I do, I'm trying to see, okay, what are the announcements or whatever, you know, and then I've just noticed it seems like, and I don't know if that's particularly what we're trying to accomplish there by quickly notifying drivers as they're driving by, you know, at 30 miles an hour, hopefully, that's all they're going, but, you know, that's always an issue too with speeders. And then that was, my next point is when people have concerns about traffic, speed of traffic, and they want to request that police department, you know, your speed with the radar, how do they go about that?
So with our presence on the OpenGov online, so they can go out and fill out a request form for anything, whether it's that, whether it's a pothole, I mean, there's anything. So we'd really encourage people to use that, because we can track it, we can assign it. When they'll get feedback right away that it's been assigned to somebody and the action that's going on. So we'll work on promoting that, but that's out there now.
Okay. So they submit online and then they get confirmation that their request
Correct.
was received, and they'll look into, okay.
Correct. Yep. And they don't have to. I mean, if somebody, you know, prefers to make a phone call, give us a call. But that online tool is a great feature. You can do it anytime, day and night, and it's a tracking, and they can see what's happening and that it's actually being followed up on.
Thank you.
So I'm dating myself here, so when I said that, you know, that the thing went to a flag, I don't know, so back TV, at 12 o'clock midnight, the stations would turn off, and then the flag would, I don't know if you guys saw that or not, or experienced that, or, I don't know if you experienced it.
Don't lump me into this one.
Like a screensaver, is that what you're trying to compare it to
I guess
today?
it was like a
I just seen
screensaver
the
back
te- I
then.
just seen the test lines go across.
Or the Tesla, oh, yeah, or, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
One quick thing to build on what Councilmember Thorson referenced. Who now controls the content, or do we have guidelines or guardrails around the content of that sign for Casey? I know when it was originally launched, it was city events only. So, you know, your football sign up, your baseball sign up, those types of things. Once we figured out how to make it work to gain traction, we extended it to, you know, if the VFW was having a fish fry, or there was something going on at the Legion, you know, the car show.
We're promoting our community on it. If somebody's got an event, we're promoting it.
Perfect, great, thank you. That was what I was looking for.
And it's got to be in the community. yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And our attorney did clarify about, you know, we can't, you obviously can't discriminate against one group or the other. So
Right.
as long as they're having a community event and they request it,
Yeah.
yep.
I think that's the effort on all of this, whether it's, you know, our website, the sign. We're doing everything we can to promote our community, especially from the nonprofit, for sure, organizations, but we're really doing everything we can, even for our businesses. When COVID was going on and they were doing carry-out only restaurants, we were putting those restaurants up there. They're really trying to promote our community.
Good.
Any other topics? This is kind of open discussion, so I encourage any council member, if you got any concerns, or I think what we plan on doing is taking this list now, and Scott, you'll kind of
Yep.
put it in order.
Put it together
I think
in
there's-
order, we'll get it on council workshops so that we can stay in tune to what's going on, get feedback. But like I say, the first one that'll come up will be the maintenance overlays and the downtown design of the sidewalk and seating areas.
I also want to be
And-
like mindful of staff. Is this list feasible for staff and,
Add to it.
It'll be done tomorrow.
okay, I just want.
Oh, it's good.
I think it's a good question, because, you know, we have a pretty big list here, and so we try to prioritize as much as we can, and I think staff will, you know, they understand the list and understand the direction of the council, and if it's not reachable or whatever, I think
Yeah.
you would bring that to our attention, that, no, we can't.
No, I think again, the momentum, it's fun to see this, and yeah, though there's a lot of things and a lot of work to do, we also, to Councilmember Cole's comment, you know, from my point of view, we've got all these hundreds of $1 millions being put into our community and residents coming in. I want to make sure that we're supporting it and have the maintenance and services and everything else to not only to attract those, but to retain those and have a proud part of that.
And like you said, that some of this stuff, it's just good to write down, and maybe, you know, like you bring up the bike racks. I mean, you know, to me, that's been discussed, it's been included in, you know, the fact that we're redoing downtown. Once the downtown's done, I would imagine those would come up, but the fact we don't have one here at City Hall, I mean, was there ever one here?
No, there was we had those the hoop racks that were installed downtown, and we've got those because those were all salvaged, the ones that were down there. So, you know, those were, when we looked to start putting in benches and some of those things back, we've got new trash and recycling containers that will go in the downtown. So a lot of that streetscape furniture and things will come back.
Well, I guess my point is, some of this stuff is not necessarily takes council action to do.
Right.
I mean, if a resident were to say, hey, I come to the city hall every Tuesday to watch the meetings and there's nowhere to park my bike.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I think staff can take care of, but it,
Put in the elevator and bring it up.
Yeah.
what do you, that's the safe.
Talking about.
But-
Railing outside the chamber doors here.
But it's also good because then, just like last time we had a list, we were able to revisit it and say, well, look, this is all done. And so I think this is just more of like a, you know, let's get a direction again. Not all this stuff is meant to be, you know, staff, when are we gonna handle the Zoom meeting issues and the, you know, all that stuff. It's just kind of a general consensus of where we wanna focus and have future discussions.
You know, one of the items that'll be coming up to the council likely is park benches. You know, we've got a park bench program where you can sponsor a bench, and so that's been in place for a long time, and we're looking at that right now because, you know, I think the cost that was on it was $1,000. Is $1,000 still the right number with, you know, the number of years that's gone by, the cost of the bench, shipping, to pour a concrete pad for that to be mounted on, those types of things. And then we've got some people that are interested in doing a granite bench out into the parks. And so how do we handle that? Because that's not in our program. You know, so those things will be coming forward.
Good. Candy, do you have anything to add?
Kind of vacation mode. No, I agree with all that. Hey, did you talk about the finance committee, Mayor? I kind of want to add that too.
Budget committee?
Oh, yes, yep. Yep, we
Yeah,
did it.
that's the same thing. That's what I thought. So, yeah,
Yep.
I meant to include that. So, yeah, I'm on board with everything. I'm okay with everything. So, thanks.
Good, bring some warm weather back for us. Although it's
I heard
probably
it was
warmer
pretty
here
nice,
today.
but it's supposed to rain tomorrow. No snow, just rain.
Just rain.
It's 70 here and it's real nice, so I'll try.
Thank you. All right, city manager, you got anything to add?
No, I think, like I say, appreciate the list. It's a lot of good things. It means that things are going on in the community and look forward to getting them done.
Good.
The down, you know, the Anchor, just a quick, the building has started down at the Anchor View Apartments. They're down there working and excavating and should be pouring footings next week.
Good. So the thing was not added to the list is how do you make these meetings shorter? So I guess that's not a big issue now for
No.
anybody, so.
Well, I make a motion, this meeting be adjourned.
I think we can do that motion. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilmember Thorson, second by Councilmember Cole. Any discussion?
Peterson.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Jenny, if you could take the roll.
Councilmember Thorson,
Aye.
Councilmember Peterson,
She's raising her,
Aye.
she's raising her hand.
Councilmember Wong,
Aye.
Councilmember Cole,
Aye.
Mayor Furlong.
Aye. Good meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I am leaving town, so enjoy the